stock market. Okay, we are talking from the perspective of stock market. That's why I just told that today's stock market, RBI has warned that it is a bubble, because anything which is happening in stock market should correspondingly lead to the growth of the economy. So if growth is followed by the indication of whatever the indexes are performing on the market, right, I think that will be the actual growth. But today we are seeing the reverse. Growth is hampering due to pandemic, but we see a lot of investment happening in market. So this is a bubble. We don't know when it will explode. So we need to be very cautious now. If those who are already an investors in market, or those who are traders in market, right, be cautious. That is one simple warning I wanted to give. The second important thing is, yesterday there was one article wherein a very important information was told that Indian stock market capitalization is almost around $3 trillion US dollars, $3 trillion US dollars. So we are already looking for 5 trillion economy, but our stock market capitalization is already $3 trillion. And we are the 8th largest market in the world. Okay, so we are ranked at the 8th position in the world in terms of the market capitalization when it comes to the global. So you can imagine where we are heading towards. So these are the two important things which you need to bear it in mind. Okay, as a general tip, what I have given to you. One is, I'm cautioning you, if you are already investors or traders in the market, be careful what is happening. Second one is the positive sign of Indian stock market, where we are in the 8th position today. So irrespective of the pandemic, which has penetrated into each and every sector of the economy, still we are seeing the better growth perspective, and seeing how the rupee is behaving. So it has become one of the strongest currency in the entire Asia. So that's a very important observation which we need to make. And the Morgan Stanley report, which has come out last week, it has told that India is one of the Asia's fastest emerging economies. So why I'm telling all these things, because these are all points which will be adding very important on significance focus on how our stock prices will be valid in the market for coming days. So if you want to be an investor, or if you want to know about the markets in total, then you need to do some fundamental analysis. And also you need to study something about market analysis, how the economy is performing, how the business is performing, how the sectors are doing, and all those things. So this is not something where you need to depend or rely upon someone who can help you out on all these things. So having said these 2 points, let me share today's presentation, what I am. Normally, I don't do presentations, but I wanted to share some of the important things which are there in the market. So I thought of sharing those information with you. Just I will share the presentation for today's program. So hope the presentations are visible to you. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So coming back to the first thing, I just want to focus something on the consumer price index. Okay, so this is a very important point I would like to say, because whenever we want to visualize what will happen to the future, because today what I'm addressing you will be a steady growth of the investments, okay, that through SIP. So how do I save for future? That's very important. So whatever I'll be talking today, the topic will be more of future oriented rather than what is prevailing today or what happened yesterday. So I'm going for more of your future, not about what happened yesterday and what about today. So let us focus on some of the key indicators which are very important for each one of us. Since we are all in the age group of somewhere around 35, somewhere starting from 25 to 35 or 40 or 45, like that. So majority of us, I hope so, because that's what my visualization of what the people who have been there today in the meeting is all about. So I think somewhere you are all between 25 to 45 years. So majority of you are somewhere between 25 and to 40 years. So that's what I infer. Okay. So having said so, this is what the consumer price index, how it has behaved over a period of time. So if you see from the last 10 years data, right, you can see that the index is somewhere closing around 160 points now. The index is around 160. So higher the index, it means that the price levels are, general price levels are rising, because this is a very important factor, because the value of money, as many of you are from commerce faculty background, I hope so, I think so. You might have studied in financial management, there is one topic called as net present value. Okay, the present value of the money. It becomes a very important decision making point when you are selecting a project, in especially in your capital budgeting or capital structuring theories and all those things, right? So it becomes very important at that point to select a project, whether I want to select X project or Y project or A project or B. I want to make a selection. So what I do, I try to find out the net present value. So why do I do the net present value? Because of this price index. So this price index is nothing but your inflation factor, basically. So when I say the inflation factor, inflation is one thing which eats away your price or rupee value. So once the rupee value is getting eroded because of inflation, so whatever the investment you are doing today and whatever the money you are reaping in future, right, from your investment, that whatever the net returns you get, right, after your tax effect and inflation effect, that should be above your normal rate of returns. So that is what the law says. What is normal rate of return? It is risk-free rate of returns. So how do you compare risk-free rate of return in India? So risk-free return in India is compared with the SBI fixed deposit rates, State Bank of India's fixed deposit rates, because we assume that fixed deposit rates are those rates which are risk-free. Okay, but there is a risk factor. I don't know how many of you know that your investment, whatever you do in banks in form of fixed deposit, right, it is covered up to the tune of 5 lakh rupees. That means if you have made 10 lakhs FD amount in banks, right, if tomorrow bank goes for a loss, then you are entitled to only 5 lakhs to be covered as per the rules. Earlier it was 1 lakh. Last year the government has increased it to 5 lakhs. So earlier it was only 1 lakh cover was there on your whatever the deposits you make. So the bank is answerable or liable only for paying you 1 lakh rupees in case the bank suffers loss or when bank goes for closure. So but today it is 5 lakhs. So in spite of that, we see that FD is the most risk-free rate of returns. So when you compare this risk-free returns with your returns, whatever you are earning in the market, you need to compare post-tax impact and post this inflation factor. So after considering the inflation factor and after considering the taxation factor, whatever the net returns you get, right, that net returns needs to be compared with your risk-free returns. So only then the comparative becomes very easy. So gross returns, if you are comparing, then it is not the ideal way of doing it. So one factor which is very important there is inflation, because inflation eats away your money value over a period of time. So before I go to SIP, I want to make these concepts very clear for you, because these are the very important things which you need to know, because when you are moving into SIP, you are taking some risk. Okay. So I am talking from the perspective of investors, not traders. So today's session is not on trading. Today's session is more on investing. Okay. So investment means normally for long-term perspective, you are going for allocation of your assets in the form of SIP. It's one of the form of allocation of your assets, various types of assets you are putting in form of SIPs. Okay, so that's a basic thing. One is you need to understand about what is consumer price index. That's a very key factor. Consumer price index is nothing but it's a factor of inflation which is prevailing in the economy, which derives your consumer price index. And you can see over a period of time how that index is going up. So more the index goes up with more volatility, it's highly volatile situation, and you can expect the price to go up in future. That's what it means to say. So any income increase in price should retrospectively or prospectively be, there should be a change in the income level also. Okay, that's what economics says. Economics says, so your increase in income will be directly proportional to the change in prices. That's how demand and supply theory works in market. So next is India's consumer spending. So this is what the spending percentage of Indians are in terms of rupees we have calculated. So over a period of time, you can see that spending has gone up. But some trends we are seeing in this year and last year, this is because of COVID pandemic situation, where there is a very good study, which I will share that report with you. Okay, there are very good learnings what people have learned from this pandemic. Okay, this is a very important learning, especially when it comes to the question of investment pattern, saving and investment. So I'll come back to that in a little while from now. So if you can see the consumer spending pattern and how it will be in the year Jan 2022, this is something which is very important, because why this spending is very important, because the more the spending, less the proportion money left for you to save. So the less the money you have with you for saving, then less you can go for investments. So these are all interrelated concepts. Okay, so spending goes up means then amount of money left with you as a disposable income for your savings will also come down, and if savings comes down, then investment also will come down. So spending is a very important factor. We need to just have a look into that spending habits. So what it says today is that our spending rate is slowly going up. Okay, and this we can see by the end of Jan 2022, we can see that the spending will go up still more. So more the spending, less the chances for savings and investment. Okay, I'll come back to you. I'll tell you how this happens. Okay. And CARE rating report, which was done for financial year 12 to up to financial year 19, that is they covered almost 7 years of this past history from 2012 to 2019. They covered this scenario, the whole scenario, and tried to find out that how the household India spends more on. So which are the areas? So they identify that there are three main areas on which the household spends. One is, of course, education, very challenging thing which has happened today. So you know that education has become a business. Okay, so when we were doing studies or when we passed out degrees and all, what the education was in terms of money, I'm talking about, not in terms of value. So what the standard or what the value, I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about only from the perspective of investment in education. So how much money we invested in our studies during our days and what is that we are spending today. So that is what I was very interested to see. And today it is seen that the cumulative average growth rate, okay, from 2012 to 2019, there is almost 16% increase in education spending. Okay, so that means what we were spending in 2012, it has gone up by almost 16% if we compare the spending today. So that is one of the biggest change which has taken place. So more the spending on education, left the amount left for savings. So again, I'm coming back to that point only. Then the health sector, health is a very major constraint. And after this pandemic, I think most of us know that how important health has become. So there was a study which was covering the health sector, especially the health insurance sector. So from last 2020 March to February 2021, there is a spurt in the health insurance coverage and health insurance, people opting for health insurance. So suddenly there is a demand where people have gone for more coverage on health insurance, and those people who are not covered with health insurance, almost 35% there is a switch on. Okay, in this health insurance sector, especially people have gone for buying more and more insurance policies to cover themselves. And this is one of the biggest learning from pandemic. Okay, so earlier we totally neglected our health sector. Even the government also used to neglect the health sector. So if you see our share of GDP on health, right? Earlier, we used to spend almost around 1.5% of our GDP on health. That means that was the total expenditure on health sector compared to defense sector. Defense sector, we used to spend almost around 3% of our GDP, but hardly 1.5 or 1.6% of our GDP was on health sector. But today, 2.25% of our GDP is going to health sector. And if you see the current year budget also, health has been given the primary focus. And the Ayushman Bharat scheme with the government launched 2 years back is one of the biggest health sector projects with the government has launched in the recent years, which is covering almost 90% of the households. So I think health is one of the factor, but still we see that we people see that we want government to cover our health sector. So that's very important thing which is happening when compared to the global economies. So major economies spend almost 5 to 5.5% of their GDP on health sectors. So on roughly that's the percentage of money which is going for health sectors. So that's a big challenge in India still, but slowly we have now have a government at center which is more focusing on this health sector, and that we can see in the number of All India Institute of Medical Sciences which has come up in India now, and also about a lot of other factors like the increase in the number of intakes of medical students, and setting up of medical colleges in government and private partnerships and all those things. Now we are seeing that there is a transformation or reformation which has taken place in the health sector. But this pandemic has taught a lot of lesson here. But still, when it comes to the question of our people, right, 72% of healthcare spending is paid out of pocket. So still they don't take insurance. So health insurance, if you go and survey at least 5 people, right now we can do 118 people are there. If you can ask a question of how many people have been covered under health insurance, okay, then we can see that roughly around 30 to 40% will say yes, we have been covered, and majority 50 to 60% say that we have not taken any formal health insurance. So that is the state of today's India. So that is happening. 72% still don't have a plan, okay, for health spending. So 20% of Indian population only insured. That means 80% is not still insured. So this is a very big opportunity which is there. And out of the 20%, I'm sure that 95% of the 20% is in urban area only. So rural population still doesn't have awareness about insurance, unless and until the government came up with a lot of insurance plans and all those things for farmers and business people and all those things. So insurance was not a penetrated topic in rural areas. So that is one big area which is opening up, one sector which is big opening up in the rural areas. So that is one thing. Food, of course, this is a very important sector. Okay, food is a very important because we earn in order to eat. Okay, many of us, without very good quality food, it's very difficult to survive, right? So one of the thing is basic necessities, essential commodities. So we earn because we want to have very good food, we want to have education, we want to have a shelter, and of course health is a very important factor. So food is a very important factor. We are talking from the perspective of essential commodities. Okay, essential commodities, and inflation is one important factor which is affecting the food industry. So food inflation in the last couple of years has gone up, and that surge is continuing further. Okay, so why I'm telling all this topic is because have we prepared for meeting the future eventualities? So do we have something in us, especially in terms of monetary? Because everything needs to be expressed in money. Your food, you should express in money. Your health, you should express in money. Education, you should express in money. Everything is monetary driven. So all these factors are monetary driven. So we need to be very careful when we are talking about these particular aspects. So that is a major spending, okay, and that has gone up in the last compared to 2012 and 2019. The food industry has gone up by 28.3%. One important observation, what you need to do here is the population has been increased. It is increasing. It's almost around 139 crores. India's population is almost today around 139 crores. But is the land availability for cultivation has increased? If you ask, no, it is coming down. So there is a very big mismatch between the population increase and the land availability for cultivation. So the fertile land which is available for cultivation is coming down, but the population is increasing. So you can imagine. So earlier 1 acre of land used to feed 6 people, but the same 1 acre of land today is feeding only 3 people. So there is a big gap there. Okay, so we need to address this issue, and that is what the government is trying to do in the last couple of years. And I will not go to whatever they have done and all those things. That's not my topic today. So only thing why I'm telling you is really there is a pressure on land today. So food is a very important, and food security is what the government is focusing more on. Okay, so if you don't control food, then inflation will creep into the economy. So the migration and all those impacts are there. We need to be serious about these factors. So food in financial year 12 to 19, it has gone up by 28.3%. It's not a good sign actually. Okay, the prices of essential commodities going up. That's what it means. So because these are all eats away our revenue. So whatever the money I earn, right, as a salary or as a consultant, as a fees for my professional charges or whatever it is. So I need to spend on all these things. So finally, I need to see what remains with me in order to invest. So these are the big ticketing expenditure, what happens for each one of us. So we cannot say that I don't have any education expenses or I don't have any health expenses, I don't have any food expenses. I can't say this. These are the basic prime requirement for each of us. Okay. So seeing the education cost, this is what the education cost. I have compared the figures from 2019 to 2040. So I've taken some basic courses which most of the students prefer to join. So one is the engineering course, BE, BTech or whatever, MTech or whatever it is, and MBA and MBBA. MBBS, sorry, it's not MBBA, it's MBBS, it should be. Typo error is there, MBBS it should be. So if you see the percentage increase from 2009 to 2019, how much the fees cost has gone up. So I'm not talking about management fees. I'm talking about general fees. Okay, general fees, what the average fees across India, what they have quoted. Okay, average fees. This is not, this maybe you can dispute these fees also, but I'm taking the average of all India institutions, whatever they are charging. So 2009, it was 3.6 lakhs in order to study Bachelor of Engineering course, but today it is around somewhere around 10 lakhs. And in 2040, same will become 41 lakhs. So there is a jump from up to 32% in this engineering schemes. Next, MBA, if you want to pursue an MBA or any post-graduation degree in management or from any other institutions, then as of today, it is somewhere around 19 to 20 lakhs, but it goes up to 70.3 lakhs by 2040. So there is a 37% increase in that expenditure on education. These are something which you need to plan in advance today. So again, you need to think whether your salary will also increase in the same level. Okay, at the same percentage level, whether your salary also will go for an increase or not. Very important. So MBBS, of course, 25 lakh is somewhere around 25 to 26 lakhs. We are talking not management seats. We are talking purely from the seats allotted by the government. So 26 lakhs you need to spend. Then it will be around 1.4 crores by 2040. So this is in the nutshell the cost of education, okay, which you need to bear it in mind, because this is where investment becomes very important. Saving, why to save, why to invest, this is a very important point. Next is CPI Housing Utility Index. Housing utility means all your rent, electricity, water, or whatever the maintenance charges you are paying for your house, all those things. So if you see this index, this is something to do with the cost of living index. Okay, this is your cost of living. Okay. So if you see over a period of time, if you take the example of April 2021, this index has gone up. So continuously this index is going up. That means this is an increasing trend is there. So more the index goes up, right, there is more chances for you not having money left at your disposal for savings. So this is a very key index which needs to be there. And this is also almost, it has become common for all of us, because we need to save money. Means first you need to spend on all these activities, that is your utilities, which are basic wants and basic requirement for you to lead at least a basic comfortable life. So if you want to lead a basic comfortable life, and if you want to enjoy the common standard of living what is there in that particular society, then you need to spend on these utilities. So that utility index is showing today at 161.4. So this, we can see the trend, it has shown an increasing trend over a period of time, and this definitely will show increasing trend in the coming years also. So this is area where we need to be very cautious. So there are areas where you, if you have a very careful and diligent planning system or budgeting system with you, right, you can still have a control with these type of expenses which goes for utilities. Okay, there are various ways to do it. Okay. So the pandemic effect, what I was talking about, see, there are some good learning from pandemics. Okay, so one of the very important learning is 90% of Indian consumers have witnessed a change in personal spending behavior since the onset of pandemic. This is according to Consumer Spending Sentiment Index. So 90% of people have now seriously started thinking about, okay, their saving habits, okay, which they were not doing it earlier. That means they have now recasted their spending behaviors. So earlier, what they used to spend on lavish life, like going to mall, going to cinemas, going and enjoying with a lot of entertainment activities, going and eating in restaurants. See, all these things, and wearing apparels, buying new clothes, buying new sandals, and all those things. There is a drastic downward shift in those type of expenses. So now people are now becoming very cautious about how to save money for future. That's become a very important objective due to pandemic. So whatever the investment awareness program what SEBI was conducting, I think the first session was all about that, where the SEBI resource person might have told you about all those things. So whatever the investment awareness program what SEBI used to create for last 10 years, right? So the results, whatever could not be achieved by SEBI investment awareness program, definitely this pandemic has started within 1 year. So people have now realized that Hawaii savings and investments are very important today. And the pandemic has taught a lesson in a country like India, where we are not too much, where we do not too much care for our investments and savings. So that was a very bad habit what our people inculcated in themselves. And today there is a lesson which has been taught by this pandemic, and now people are now careful about their spending behaviors. That is one thing. 70% of Indians have now placed greater emphasis on securing the future by increasing investment and savings. So this is one big lesson which has been learned in the last 1.5 years of pandemic. So I think India should have spent crores of rupees in order to educate people on this. But pandemic has shown, okay, and just by this pandemic, right? All parts of India, rural India, village India, the urban front, the metro front, everything has been covered. Okay, so it has taught each one of us a lesson as to why savings and investments are required. So that's why I think you people also might have thought about this SIP as one of the important topic to be covered in FDP program. I think the person who has thought, or the person who is behind this framing of this topic, you might have seriously thought about the pandemic situation itself and how to face that pandemic in future, so that we don't give a lot of burden to our family members during this COVID time and all those things. I think the 4C of future is something what might have pushed you to select such type of topic. That's what I feel. Then expenditure on essential goods and services like food products and healthcare saw a substantial increase by 45% and 38% respectively. This is one of the very important changes which has taken place. So one is health sector they are talking about. I'm not talking about food sector, because food is always the major constraint which every Indian would look to have. But healthcare sector is something which now people have suddenly realized. Okay, because in spite of so many years of the IRDA coming into picture and a lot of health insurance schemes coming into picture, still they were not able to convince people on buying the health insurance policies. But suddenly, as I told you, from last March to this February, there is a 32% increase in people going for buying more and more health insurance. And that is because of these reasons. Okay, so now people have become little aware about health insurance. Then 21% of the consumer increasing spend on essential products. So this is the one important thing. So now they have identified what is essential, what is not essential. So this is what Warren Buffett used to say, as Madam rightly pointed out in her beginning remarks, that Warren Buffett is one of the architect of all this investment plan, especially steady investment plan. Today, what we are talking about, steady, right? So he is the advocate of the steady investment plan. So he is a person who advocated the importance of compounding theory and all those things. So he has rightly pointed out this particular thing that unless and until people start spending or putting their money on essential products and try to deviate themselves from non-essential product, right? So they cannot achieve the goals of financially sound what they should be at the time of retirement. So that is what today people have thought. and the pandemic has taught them a lesson, wherein 21% of the consumers now are increasing spend on essential commodities. So they have now realized essentials are very important. Non-essential, we can defer it, or we can even say no to it as of now, because it's a question of we being survive for the next couple of years. That's very important. So this is in nutshell. This is a consumer spending survey which was carried out by Intermix. So you can see how the things have changed over a period of time. So it's only 3% spending more on non-essentials. So it has drastically come down. 17% investing more now. So now there is awareness about investment now, and 21% spending more on essential. This is a very important thing. And last one is very important. 49% are saving more. So I'm really interested to see these 2 points. 17% investing more, 49% saving more. So now where to invest? That is the question now. Okay. People are saving, people are investing. But where to invest? You have a lot of opportunities. I think yesterday the person was from the wealth management background, right? I think he might have told you what are the various options available for you for making investments. So I'm not going into all those things because I think you might have covered all the areas. But I'll stick on to only SIPs. Okay, but before that, let us have some observations. Okay, these are very important things. Please focus on these things. Because all of us will be getting into these, for all of us, this is a very important information, because all of us need to take this information very seriously. Okay, the first point is very important. Okay, India population age 50 and older will reach by 34% by 2050. Between 2010 and 2050, shares of 65 years and above will increase to 14%. Okay. So this is a very important, this is a elderly age, we call it as 65 years is elderly age people, we call it as that. Population will increase by 14% by 2050, and 80% and above year will be 3%. So it's a very strange observation. 3% of the total population, you can imagine now, by 2050, our population will be somewhere around 148 crores. That's what they're telling, 148 crores. So 148 crores, 3% of them will be 80 years and above. Okay, so please be careful with these figures. And most of us also will be in that category now. Number of elder people will increase from 88 million in 2009 to 320 million by 2050. This is all United Nations Development Program. They have studied and they have given the figures. So this is a very important thing. So most of us will be fitting in this bracket in the next 20 years. So 78% of Indian employees still believe that they are not saving enough for comfortable retirement. So this is one of the biggest observation which has been made, especially in terms of working population, where they have spent entire life in working in some industries or working in some institutions or whatever it is. 78% of them feel that they do not have enough savings. And the next point is very important. Over 68% of working age people expect their children to support them after retirement. But one thing, what the actual reality is, in this 68%, what they have felt, right, 35% of them told that their children are no more supporting them. So if this scenario was very much to be accepted, then there was no need for so much of old age homes to be started up in various cities. In Bangalore itself, in the last 2 years, there is 300% rise in the number of old age homes which have been set up in Bangalore itself. One in Bangalore city itself, there is 300% increase in the number of old age homes which has been set up in Bangalore in the last 2 years. So you can imagine now. So don't rely on our children. Okay, we cannot depend on our children for our retirement life. So definitely, I don't think that the people, 68% of them, how they are relying on their children, thinking that they will be supporting them after retirement. So I don't think that that will be a reality, because we are seeing a lot of things happening in various states, in newspaper and TV channels. We are watching how they are, senior people have been treated by their kids. So that's a different question. So, but this is reality. Okay, this is something which needs to be reality. So, one of the important formulas what Indians follow is they think that what if you ask any Indian what is saving, they think first we will get an income, and from that income first we'll spend. Okay, whatever we want to buy, we'll buy. Then later we'll try to save. So saving is difference between income minus expenditure. That's what many of the Indians feel. But actually, that's not the true story. The true story should be small change in the formula. It's income minus saving should be expenditure. So there is a lot of understanding which should go into our mind when I say income minus savings is expenditure. Instead of income minus expenditure is equal to saving. If you focus on income minus expenditure should be saving in a middle class budget, definitely your savings will nowhere place. Okay, it will not come in your lifetime itself. If you go by that concept of income, first I earn my income, first I try to spend on all the things what I want, then whatever remains I will save. If you go by that logic, definitely you will not save. This is where most of the Western countries or Southeast Asian countries and the US and other countries in the world which are developed, so developed countries we call them, right? So this is where India differs from. So in India, majority of the population believes that first whatever the income they get, they will spend. Later on, whatever the money remains with them, that they will take it as savings. That never happens because always your budget is on deficit side. Your expenditure will be more on your income. So if you are planning for some bonus to come in the month of September, you already plan for how to spend that in the month of July itself. Because you have the commitments done for your September bonus in the month of July itself. So that is the mentality of the middle class people in India who are 68% of total population of India today. So they are the major people. So any, whatever the consumer brackets we talk about in India, right? Because India is a big market for consumers. India is a big market for consumer because 68% of India are in middle class. They are the very big consumer market. That's why world is looking towards India. So any product they want to launch, they will start from India because it's a consumer market. We have a very big consumer market in India. So these 68% people are those who are not really interested in savings. They think that first let them spend, then they will save. Unless and until you are forced to do savings, you will pay 2-3 installments, and after that again you come back saying that no, I cannot pay any further installment because my spending is more than my income. That is how, that means we don't have discipline in running our budget. That's the major flaw which is there in the middle class people. The next one is, if you buy things which are not required, you would have to sell things which are required. So again, I'm quoting from Warren Buffett. This is the same point what he told. So this is a very important point. Please bear it in mind. Many of us do. Many of us buy. That is non-essentials what we are discussing, right? So many of us try to spend our money when there is 10% hike in my salary. So the next 10% hike in salary, I will focus on spending the 10% hike on buying some commodities which are not really required for me. So that is because of either my friend bought it, so I will buy it, or my neighbors have it, I want to have it, or my relatives have those things, I also want to have that things. See, there is something called as Madam was rightly pointing out, there is something called as risk appetite, okay, in investment patterns. When I say risk appetite varies from person to person. You cannot copy these things from person to person. It differs from one person to another person. So whether my neighbor does, or whether my relative does, or whether my close friend does, don't compare. You always say he's also getting same salary what I get, but he has so many things at his home, but I don't have so many things at my home. Yes, that risk appetite varies from person to person. It's not the question of having same income between two persons. It's the commitment and the backups what those people have and what you people don't have. So many times we don't do this. This wrong decision is something which will impact our future life, because today's savings are very important. If you don't save and at least invest that savings in a proper investment plan, then our future life is very, very, very dangerous. Okay, because to make you very simple, we may work for 60 years. But as per the latest survey, the minimum age, okay, or the life expectancy of an Indian is 75 years. Life expectancy is 75 years. So what you earn for up to 60 years, you need to save it for next 15 years. Okay, so in this 15 years, what you want to save, right? That 15 years is a very crucial period, because that is a period where your age and health is not the same. Your health factors are not same. Okay, and your commitments are different. Daily today, if you see, if you want to buy some medicine, right? Minimum, if you for a cold or something, if you go to a doctor, you need to spend at least 1,000 rupees today, just for a cold and a small regular cough. I'm not talking about corona, okay? I'm just talking about a normal situation where I got a cough and a fever because of weather change or something like that, or because of allergy or something like that. I got a cough, or I got a running nose. So I visited doctor. So you can see what is the amount of charges he will collect, okay, as a fees, and how much you need to buy medicines. So around 1,000. So as we grow by age, right, a lot of our body parts will not be under the same control things what we have today. So definitely we work till 60 years, but next 15 years is very crucial for us. So if we don't create enough assets for next 15 years by right now starting my savings, then it's very difficult for me to survive, because 68% of working age people think still that their kids will take care of them. So don't be of that assumption. It's not happening. Okay, so it's not happening. I think you might have experienced in your family circle and your relative circle or nearby people and all. You might have seen, okay, how the daughter or son is treating their parents and all those things. Okay, so don't be of that impression that they will take care of you. So, but at least we need to stand on our own legs at that point of time. So that's very important. So try to spend money judiciously. So try to allocate your budget only for those purpose for which it is required, not for any other purpose. Spend time thinking money and the way you deal with it. We mix financial products. This is most of the time we do it. I'll come back to that in a little while from now. And live your life your way. That's a very important thing. Last point is very important. We work for money throughout life. So this is what we are for. So we are doing our profession. You people are doing your teaching profession. Why we are doing all these things? Because we want to survive. So if I want to survive, I need to have some money. So that's the ultimate motive for which I'm working today. Because money is the transaction thing which is there in today's world. So everyone is working for money. So gross domestic rates of India ranks at 39th, and you can see the savings pattern in India which is coming down. Today, the saving pattern has come down from 37.82% to 30.1%. This may be because of COVID impact also is there, but somehow we see that the habit of saving is not there in India right from childhood days. So we don't teach our kids on this saving things. Okay, so but if you go to Southeast Asia, right, Singapore, Malaysia, and the Philippines and all those countries, right, they are very good in teaching the skill sets to the kids at the kindergarten level itself. They teach how to save whatever the parents' money is being given to them, right? How to save that. They inculcate the habit of saving at a very young age of 5 years to 6 years age itself. They will try to do all these things. So here in India, we don't teach that. It's not part of our curriculum or academics also. That's why somewhere the saving percentage is not so good in India, and we try to think of saving only after reaching 45 years or 50 years, and that's too late for us to save, because saving at the earlier stage builds you big corpus, okay, rather than saving at a later stage, because there are a lot of constraints to your saving mechanism, and also the building up the corpus is very much restricted when you become old. Okay, so that's a very important factor which you need to bear in mind. And this is what the salaried people are doing. Okay, so if you see the graph, it's very strange. Okay, this is how the salaried people are behaving, especially those people with more than 15 lakhs. Okay, per annum salary, right? If it is more than 15 lakhs, their investment, right, is very less. You can see that. Okay, so what their investment is, you can see that in 2020 that investment has come down. In 2019 that was a little bit okay, but in 2019 it's coming. But if you compare with the people who are getting an income of different level, that is less than 5 lakhs or 5 to 10 lakhs or 10 to 15 lakhs, you can see one thing, that is people who are getting less salary, right? They are more interested to save rather than people who are getting more salary. And this is a very strange phenomenon which is happening in India, because in the other part of the world, if you see the people who are getting higher income, right, they are the people who will be saving more. And since the disposable income of the lower earning people are very less, they will not be able to save. But this is reverse in India actually. So people with lesser income are more eager to save. They are more eager to park their money in FDs or post office or in some stock markets or some avenues which are available for them in the gold, real estate, or whatever it is. They are trying to push the money. But if you see the people with more than 15 lakhs per annum, right, they are not serious. They are only focusing on tax benefit. If there is a tax benefit, they will save, or they don't save it. They try to spend on luxurious life, either traveling. Now traveling and all is stopped, but they focus more on buying a lot of non-essential commodities. They spend money on a lot of equipments, posh cars, and all those things. So car, many of you treat the car as an asset, but actually car is a liability. Okay, it's not an asset. So now I will not talk about how it's a liability and all. Please do some investigation. You'll come to know. Car is no more a asset. Okay, it's a liability actually, if you think in today's term. And this is a very important rule. Please bear this rule in mind. 50-30-20 rule, it's called as. And this is a universal rule which is applicable. And this is where SIP needs to be concentrated more on. What is this 20-20 means? Whatever income you get, right, out of that 20%, you need to save and do the investment. So 20% should be your saving. That's what it says. So out of your 100 rupees, if you are earning, at least 20 rupees you need to save. 80 rupees, it is at your disposal. So you do whatever you want. Spend on essential commodities, spend on non-essential commodities, or spend on anything, acquiring any assets. Whatever you want, you do it. But 20% should go for saving. This is a universally accepted rule. Out of any income you get, 20% you need to put it on savings. This is the universally applicable rule which is in practice today. So coming back to the SIPs, as many of you know, because I was attending that first day session, I think Madam was talking about what is SIP and all those things. Okay. So most of you know about this SIP because it's called a systematic investment plans. So earlier in India, we did not have this thought process of SIPs. They started only after this subprime effect in US, somewhere around 2008 and 9, where the US market went for recession, right? So that was a time when the stock prices came down heavily, and the markets started falling across the globe. So that was a time when people were people were more reluctant to get out of the market and try to find various avenues through which they need to invest it. So that was the time when mutual fund companies started promoting this systematic investment plan, where they thought instead of taking one huge hit on the risk factor, why don't you defer your risk, or why don't you think of choosing some plan wherein you can get a flexibility in your investment pattern, so that investing one shot in the market and losing the money, why don't you try to recapitalize the market by pushing some nominal investments over a period of time. So that was the time when they thought of introducing this SIP, that is systematic investment plans. And as the name itself tells, it's a systematic. Okay, there is some type of disciplinary thing which needs to be there when you go for SIPs. It is an investment technique where you deposit a little regularly every month. That is, little contribution of your investment is done in the form of deposits, either in monthly, weekly, or daily. Okay, into a selected mutual fund scheme, equity at the then prevailing NAV. So most of the people are of the opinion that this SIPs are run only through mutual funds. No, it's not correct. Okay, even equity based investments are also there. Okay, that is called as equity SIPs. So you can directly invest in equity SIPs. So it's not that you need to put the money only in the mutual funds. From there, they will be investing in SIP. No, that concept is not correct. Okay, that is also one of the ways of investment, but there is a new product which has also come up with most of the SIP running AMCs. that you can even directly invest in market. Okay, I'll come back to that in a little while from now. So what are the basic features? A basic feature is a specific amount is invested for a continuous period at regular intervals under this plan. So this is very important. So you try to invest regularly over a period of time. So you are just deferring your risks. Okay, in case risk is there. Okay, I'll not talk about only risk, because when you are telling you are putting in mutual fund, I think disclaimer you people know, because whenever you see TV advertisement, they will be showing investment in mutual fund is subject to market risk. Please read the offer document before you invest. See, that is a mandatory thing which SEBI has told to put for all mutual fund products. Okay. So when I talk about mutual funds, when you talk about equity investment, as you people are commerce background people, many of you know that investment in equity is risk only. High risk, high return. That's what the equity category means. So risk comes along with your investment here. So don't worry about risk. So if you don't want to take risk, then you need to put the money in post office savings or monthly income scheme or in FDs or whatever it is, where the rate of return is very less. Okay. So what I'm telling is there is something called as portfolio asset allocations. So you need to don't put entire money of your savings on SIPs. It's only a part of money which you need to diversify. Okay, that is called as portfolio investments. Okay, asset allocations. You are allocating your assets to different categories so that you are spreading your risk. Okay, so SIP is one way of investment. Okay, so it's not the only way of investment. It's one part of investment which you can also think of, because once you try to put money in every month, okay, over a period of time, it accumulates a big corpus because of compounding. It's the eighth wonder we talk about, right? Compounding. Compounding is the eighth wonder of the world, they call it as. Why they call it as? Because your corpus grows with such a faster rate, which takes care of your tax effect and also the inflation effect. Both effects are taken care of by this compounding. So that's where compounding has become a very important thing in growing your corpus is concerned with. So tenure of lending and borrowing available up to a period of 12 months. It again depends upon the fund management companies. So there are a lot of fund management companies. That's what I told. I will not market any of the fund management companies. So it depends. Okay, it can be 6 months also is there, 3 months also is there, now 12 months is there. It depends. Tenure depends. SIP is similar to a regular saving scheme like a recurring deposits, RD. It is a method of investing a fixed sum regularly in a mutual fund or equity-based investments. SIP allows the investor to buy units on a given date every month daily. This is very important. Okay, every day NAV. This is where it's very important for you. If you go for daily investment in SIP, even there is possibility that you can put the money in SIP in daily form. Every day you can keep on investing. Okay, in SIP, that is possible now. Daily investment is also possible. So I see some of the books carrying that it should be done on monthly basis or fortnightly basis or quarterly basis and all. No, there are a lot of plans which are there in market where you can put the money on daily basis also. So on daily, whatever the NAV comes, right? NAV is the net asset value, which will be calculated by the asset management companies on day-to-day basis. So by the time the market closes, they calculate the NAV of the stocks, and you can buy the units of that NAVs in the form of your savings, whatever you have today. So that's one important thing. It's daily also is available. Please keep that in mind. While the investor investment remains the same, more number of units can be bought in declining market and less number of units in the rising market. That is where it's a very interesting thing. You are spreading your risk. Okay, your average cost is coming down because if you want to put the money in one lump sum, okay, then if your NAV comes down, then you will be taking a wrong decision of exiting from the market, so that you want more liquidity and you don't know what the future is and all those things. So in such cases, putting money in installments, that is with small amount starting from, let us say, 100 rupees. Some say that is minimum is 500. It depends again upon different companies. Okay, so you can start up with 100 rupees also. That provision is there. There are some lot of funds where you can start with 100 rupees investment, and all else 500 rupees minimum investment per month or per day or per week or per fortnight, whatever you have that bandwidth to invest, right? You can do it. Okay, so that what the series of investment what you do over a period of time, right? It saves your cost. Average cost over a period of time it comes down. So that's the advantage. Okay, so you can buy even the NAVs. NAV, if the NAV comes down on a particular day, it's a right time to buy your stocks. So more when the NIV goes up, it's a very high time for you because you lose there. So it's just the market factors which automatically adjust your risk factors there. So it automatically adjusts because the increase in NAV and decrease in NAV whenever you're going and buying that, right? So it has a thorough impact on your net effect. Net effect is very important here because you are going for a long investment. See, I'm telling you again, repeating, this is an investment product, not a trading product. Okay, those who are trying to build a big corpus for next 10 years, 15 years down the lane, you need to venture into these things. So if you are thinking of a short term, 1 year, 2 years, then this is not a right platform of investing in SIP. SIP minimum you need to go for investment from 7 to 15 years. That's the advisable thing. Okay, so in order to garner or build up your corpus, it's at least minimum 7 to 15 years you need to go for investment. So it's not for 1 year, 2 years, you cannot opt for exiting route and all those things. So that is where it will not create you big wealth. So if you want to create big wealth for you, you need to think of steady investment over a period of time. So at least for 7 years from now, okay, if you can focus on this, you can build a big corpus at the end of 8th year. Okay, so if you go for more and more years, then you can build big corpus at the end of your retirement time. Okay, so that depends upon your flexibility of how you want to operate and all those things. The investor automatically participate in the market swing once the option of SIP is made. So once you are doing SIP through mutual funds, so there are asset management companies which take care of your funds and which take care of your investment. So depending upon whatever the suggestions you are putting to them or whatever advices you are telling them, and based on their internal team and based on their own market analysis, right, they will be investing in secured funds. So that is one advantage of going for mutual funds through mutual fund investment through asset management companies. And that is a disadvantage if you don't go with the equity directly, if you go to equity markets. So if you directly want to trade in equity markets, then it is at your own risk you are doing. If you go it through a mutual fund, then they have their own expert team which is there, which do the market analysis. So they will take care of your fund and try to venture it in the very safe mode. So that if tomorrow, if there is a loss also, you will suffer a minimum loss, not to a maximum extent. So that is the advantage of going for mutual fund SIPs or directly going into share market, that is equity SIPs. So what are the benefit? Benefit is small investment size per installment. So everyone, you cannot expect to pour 50,000 rupees in the market at a single point of time and lose the entire money. So better take a sense of the market, how it works by putting small amount. Okay, once you get confidence, then you can build up your corpus. So that's investment pattern what you need to choose when you're talking about SIPs. Then habit of continuous savings and investment. So that is a very important need of the hour today. So we know where we are standing today. We know how much we have saved for our future. We know our limitation. So what will be our retirement life and post-retirement life, how we have planned. So we know everything. So it is better to cultivate the habit of continuous saving and investment, at least right from now onwards, if you have not done anything. So this is the right time. You need to start now. Lower average cost per unit. I told you how lower average cost, because you will be purchasing NAV at different rates. So today NAV may be higher. So you have put 500 rupees today. So you will buy only a little amount of stocks. So tomorrow, if the same sector's NAV falls, then you can buy large number of stocks. So over a period of time, if you start comparing your average cost, it comes down. So average cost should be compared over a period of time. So your average cost in terms of SIP investment will come down instead of putting the entire money on your investments. So you lose the entire cost there because you need to pay for processing fees, brokerage fees, and all those things you need to pay. And that eat away your certain percentage of investment which will be done in the market. So that cost will be avoided if you go for SIPs. Then volatility becomes your friend. This is very important point. Okay. So many people always have the impression that the share market is subject to volatility. Yes, share market is subject to volatility because a lot of factors are playing around stock market. So it's not that, and it's highly difficult to predict how the market behaves, because there may be some small rumor which can creep up today market when it opens, and that can spoil entire your investment plan, what today you are planned for your market investments. So there are a lot of things. See, the stock market is governed by a lot of factors. Okay, external factors and internal factors are there. So some are predictable, some are highly unpredictable. So volatility should be there. Okay, see, because when you are venturing into risk, more return will be there only if you take risk. Okay, so volatility is a factor which is very important. It should not be treated as an enemy. It should be treated as a friend. Volatility is a friend. More the volatility, more the benefit you can reap at that point of time. And SIP is one way where we can play around volatility, because we are not putting the entire money at one point of time. Someone was telling putting entire legs in one basket is very, so they were telling, right? So that's correct. That is how the investment pattern works. Okay, you should not take the risk in such a way that where it is really known that the risk will happen. So instead of that, you go and put that money. It's not advisable. So Warren Buffett has made a very good, given a very good example of how people should be selective in taking risk. He gives an example that if a man finds a pond filled up with water, better put your one leg and see the depth of the pond. Don't try to see the depth of a pond by putting both of your legs inside. So one leg, if you sense that your leg is going inside the pond, better you take away that leg and you keep walking. Don't get into the habit of checking the depth of the pond by putting both of your legs into it. That's what the market investment is all about. Okay, so don't take huge risk, but take calculated risk. Calculated risk is important, because this is one part of your investment, what you are doing. It's not the entire investment, what you are putting in SIP. It's one small part of your investment you are putting. So take the advantage of market volatility. Very important. So for doing all these things, you should have some knowledge. Okay, don't rely on others. Please, whenever you want to put money in SIP or any investment in markets, right? At least basic knowledge you should have about the markets. Don't rely on others. Of course, the compounding, I told you, this is the eighth wonder. Okay, compounding is the best thing which will result in accumulating your corpus over a period of time. So if you are planning for an investment for 15 years, 20 years down the line, then compounding is one best method which will be helping you out. So of course, there are some disadvantages. I don't think disadvantages are more important here, because advantages are very important in SIPs. Okay, these are all basic things in stock market. So this will be there when you are playing in stock market. These are inevitable risks. Okay, so I will not call it as disadvantage. It's a challenge. We need to manage with the challenge. Coming back to the tax implication, there are three different types of tax implication. Because if I want to cover this topic on only tax implication, I need to take the class till evening. Okay, because a lot of provisions are there in Income Tax Act, especially to mutual fund and equity investment in terms of different tax applications and implication. So I'll just tell you, there are three important types of taxes which are coming here. One is dividends. So government has abolished dividend distribution tax now. So there is no dividend distribution tax, but the dividend amount will be included in the hands of investors as an income from other sources, and you need to pay tax on that at the regular slab level, whatever the slab you come under, right? You need to pay dividend tax on that. The second one is ATC benefit. This is applicable only in case of equity linked saving schemes, that is mutual fund with equity investment linked, right? Only that will qualify for tax benefit under ATC up to 1.5 lakhs. So whatever the systematic investment you are doing, whatever, hello, yeah,
audible.
Yeah, fine. So whatever the systematic investment you are doing over a period of time, right? So that qualifies for ATC benefit up to 1.5 lakhs. Okay, that is there. But only thing what you need to bear in mind here is it is blocked for 3 years. That is, there is a lock-in period which is there for 3 years if you put the money and if you want to get the benefit under ATC. So there is a lock-in period of 3 years. So that means within 3 years you cannot withdraw it. Okay, so there is a lock-in. If you withdraw it, then you need to, you cannot use that ATC benefit. You will be again taxed for using the ATC benefit within 3 years. So that is one thing which is there. And capital gain, of course, there are 3 types of thing which you need to remember. So capital gain in case of equity link scheme, capital gains in case of debt schemes, and capital gains in case of hybrid schemes. So I will not cover the entire thing here. Tax implications is important here, but if you are going for a long-term capital gain, right, you are that is more than 12 months in case of equity linked schemes. So if you are putting the money for more than 1 year, then you come under long-term capital gains, and up to 1 lakh your capital gain is not taxable, because there is something called as parenting clause which is applicable from the 2020 budget onwards. So you will not be taxed up to 1 lakh of whatever the income you are receiving, that is in the form of capital gain. The balance amount will be taxed at 10%. That is the only thing. So tax implication is very minimum in case of SIPs if you are going for long-term investments. So only if in case of short-term investment, SIP will be taxed at 15% and 115 JV, okay, section of income tax. So just understand those things about tax implication. So don't get into too much of it because that is not the session what I will be dealing now. So the last one is no reinvestment risk. That's a very, very important thing. If you go for investment in fixed deposit, if you go for investment in golds, and if you go for investment in real estate, there is something called as reinvestment risk which is there. So once the money matures, let us say gold bond scheme you have opted, gold sovereign bond which has come up right last week. So let us say you have gone for that. So there is a maturity period for that. So if you withdraw that money after that, where to invest? Because again, your tax implication depends upon your reinvestment plans and all those things. So there is a risk factor which is there when you go for reinvestment of your matured money when you are putting in other investments. But in case of SIP, if you are putting right, then there is no question of reinvestment, because this will continue for 15 years, 20 years, 7 years, 8 years, 10 years down the lane. And whatever the money you are getting back, right, that will be taxed only if it is a case of long-term capital gain 10%. That's it. So you are done with that. So that's where your reinvestment risk is very less, because most of the reinvestment will be done by asset management company itself. So they will be doing the investments for you. So you can rely upon those people. You can have a consultation with them, check with them, have an interaction with them. So they will be helping you out in restreaming your investments. So that's how it's very beneficial for you. Then I talked about equity SIPs. So this is a new category of investment which is available in the market. Don't be of the impression that all SIPs are mutual fund oriented. There are even equity SIPs also, where you can become the direct shareholders of the company by you only investing every month some money, okay, in the form of equity SIP. But this requires a lot of understanding about equity markets. You should have some knowledge about equity markets. Only if you are good in knowledge is equity market, then please venture into equity SIP, or else don't venture because someone told you or someone is doing that, so I will also do it. Don't go by that. Okay, it should be purely driven by your own efforts. So there are 2 types of equity SIPs. One is amount based and another is quantity based. So you can tell that what is the amount of investment you have, and based on that amount you can buy the stocks. That is one option which is there with you. Or you can tell the number of units of stock you want to buy. Let us say Infosys, I want to buy 10 stocks. Okay, you buy 10 stocks. Price is immaterial there. So you can say every month I want to buy 10 units of Infosys. So every month 10 into what is the current market price of that Infosys stock, that multiplied by that will be the amount what you are supposed to invest. So SIP can be either, hello, yeah, some question. I'll take at another 5 minutes. I will wind up. Okay.
Question.
No, I'll take up another 5 minutes. I will wind up in next 5 minutes.
Okay, sir.
Hello. Yeah.
Okay, sir. You can continue.
So amount based. Yeah, amount based SIP means you are going by only amount. Let us say I have 1,000 rupees. So every month 1,000 rupees. So I want to buy some stock. So you can tell what are the stock you can buy. If the order price is below that and 1,000 rupees, number of stock you get, that will be allocated to you. So here you are quantifying the amount what you are supposed to use for buying the SIPs. In the second type, you are quantifying the quantity, where you are telling number of stocks you want to buy. I want to buy 20 units of Wipro stock. Okay, 20 units on that particular day. What is the price? You multiply by price, that amount you deposit on that particular day, every month or every fortnightly or every weekly or every daily. You decide what is the mode of investment, what you need to do, and accordingly you will be investing. So that is, there are two different types. Be careful with this. And again, I'm cautioning you, if you are very good in market, then only try to enter into equity SIPs. Or else better start your journey with mutual fund SIPs, because there are people, experts who will be helping you there. Here, no experts. Okay, you are the sole expert here. If you are thorough in the market, you can go for investments. So benefits are so you can see here. So in the long run, how the SIP plan works. So if you go for 1 year, your rate of return will be 0.6% normal. So in terms of investment and market price, they have told here, okay, amount invested, let us say 60,000 rupees, you get 67,000 at the end of 1 year. So if you go for 15 years, if you invest 9,000 rupees, then you will get 33.65, 9 lakh rupees, you get 33 lakh rupees. Okay, that is how you can see the how this corpus can be built over a period of time. So if you are a person who want to put money in SIPs, so please put money in SIPs thinking in long terms, not for short terms. Okay, so short term, it's not a viable plan, I say, but for long term, it's a very good. That's why I told steadily how to build your wealth. So steadily, if you want to build your wealth over a period of time, so minimum 7 to 15 years, if you are investing, then only you will get a very good returns. Okay, because this works on the principle of compounding. So the compounding is one factor which increases your NAV, because your settlement will happen on the NAV principle. So if you are an investor, if you are serious about investment, try to put the money in SIPs, which are doing very, very good now. So you can see how the SIPs are doing, total collection from SIP over a period of time. And 19, 20, 21, 21, please be careful here, because due to Corona, this little bit of impact is there on SIP collections. But already in April, 9,000 crores is what the money has been collected. April 2021, I'm talking about. So they have collected almost around 9,000 crores. That means people have again come back and started putting money on SIPs. So this is how the SIP trend from 16, 17, it's going up. And 2021, there was a little bit fall in SIP collection because of pandemic. Okay, because people were not expecting this. It came suddenly in 2021. But 21, people are now used to it, and they are now prepared even for third wave also. So since the mentality of the people have changed over the last 6 to 7 months, and also the vaccines have come up, and also the government has geared up for the third wave and all those things. So there are a lot of confidence building measure which has taken place, and that is how the markets are now able to tap more and more investors coming. And as I told you, pandemic has taught a very good lesson, that more and more people are now becoming more interested in saving and investing. So SIP is one area where they are focusing, especially mutual fund SIPs, because many of them are not aware of how the market works. So better to work through mutual fund agencies, where they will be giving you a helping hand. They will be doing hand holding things, and they will be giving advisory services and all those things by their own analysis. So they minimize your risk. Okay, to make it simple, mutual fund companies minimize your risk. So better start up your investment, small amount of investment with the mutual fund. Okay, do it with the mutual fund. So this is last slide what I have. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Okay, this is what they tell. If you had planted 20 years ago, then you would have experienced the shade of the tree. But if you ask me again, the second best time is what, means it is today only. Okay, as soon as in the afternoon you can, if you have something idea about investing, try to call one mutual fund company. Okay, sit with them, ask them what are the plans which are available. So try to start investing immediately. So the time when you start for this, right, it is the right time. Don't think that today is a Tuesday, so let me think about Wednesday and all those things, or don't waste for some time. So today is the right day. You invest and you start making benefit, because Earlier you invest, big corpus, you can get it within a short span of time, or else again you will be under distress. Okay. Having said so, thank you for your patience listening. I am now open to take any questions. If you have any questions, you can ask me.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful presentation and information session. Sir, now the session is open for question and answer. So any questions, you can put it in the chat box so that we can ask the question, answers from the sir. Sir, there is one question from Rupa V, sir. What is the minimum number of shares we have to buy to enter the share market?
So it's something to do with SIP, or generally she's asking? She's asking generally, right?
General,
Rupa
sir,
is there,
general.
Okay.
Rupa V.
Madam, it depends on your risk-taking capacity, okay? So there is nothing called as minimum amount. Okay, so it depends upon which company share you are choosing, or what type of risk you want to take in business, in investment in market. So depending upon that, there is nothing called as minimum amount, okay? Minimum amount or minimum share, nothing is like that in share market. So it depends upon totally on how much risk you are ready to take. Okay, but before doing that, please do some homework, meet some experts. Okay, try to do some fundamentals of the companies where you want to put the money with. Okay, fundamental means at least you need to know their last 3 years balance sheet, profit and loss account, and do some ratios like cash flow statements. Okay, price earning ratio, profitability, and what are the ventures, what they are doing, who are the promoters, what is their experience. And also please look into what are the government guidelines. Okay, that is, what is the government trust area. So if you ask me today, government trust area is to build infrastructure facilities, to provide good health, to provide rural economy. So any company which is working in this direction, right, you can think about investing in such companies. Okay, so you need to know about what are the government initiatives which are coming up in the lane. Okay, next few months, what are the things what government is coming up, or what government is lining up with. So focus only on those sectors.
Tomorrow we have the sessions around based on this government initiatives and institutional initiatives, schemes.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we are having
there you can get, I think you can get some information on that.
Yes.
Excuse
me,
there
is
sir.
One more question, sir, from Dr. Paramesha Mallegowda. What if a company which I have invested SIP for 10 years become bankrupt or under extreme loss? What happens?
No, if you are going by mutual fund, right? If you are going by mutual fund SIP, then don't worry, because the asset management companies, that is the company which is taking care of your investment, right? They will be doing the analysis of all the companies. So if such bankrupt companies, if there is a hint about that company going for bankrupt or something like that, then definitely they will come to know. Okay, and the further investment, whatever you are doing, right, definitely that will not be put in that company. That's the advantage. That's why I told, if you are a person who is not well versed in stock market, better take the help of mutual fund companies, because they will do all the risk analysis for you. They will see whether this prospect, what is the prospect of this company, so how they have performed over a period of time, so how they will be doing it in future, because bankruptcy cannot happen immediately within a day or two. There are series of things which contributes towards bankruptcy. Yes, okay, sir. So they will be doing the analysis. So better to rely on those people instead of you doing your own analysis and finding it difficult at the end of the year. So that's what I told. If you are a first-time investor, better take the advice of mutual fund, get some confidence for 1 year, 2 years, then you venture directly into the equity SIPs, or else not advisable for you to venture into equity SIP.
Okay, sir. Sir, there is one more question, sir, from Shivaram Krishnan. What is SWP and how does it works?
What is that? SWP?
SWP he has given, and how does it works?
It's SIP, ma'am. Is it SIP?
Maybe I think it is SIP.
No, we are told, right? SIP was the session today. We have discussed about.
Yeah, SWP he has given.
SWP, yeah.
It's SIP, sir. I think it's a mistake.
Okay. No, if that person is there, you can just speak to him. Is that SIP or SWP? What he's talking?
Shivaram sir is there? Kindly unmute yourself and ask the question, sir. Shivaram Krishnan. I
Oh,
don't think so
systematic
there.
weekly plan. Someone is telling systematic weekly plan.
Yes, sir.
See, systematic daily plan is there. That's what I'm telling. There are different options of SIP. SIP is not only monthly. It can be weekly. It can be daily. It can be fortnightly. It can be quarterly. It can be monthly. There are different forms of SIPs. Okay, it's one of the form of SIP.
Okay.
SWP is one of the form of investing. If you have opted for monthly, every month you contribute some fixed amount. If you have opted weekly, every week you should contribute fixed amount. That's it. There is nothing difference in that.
So there is one more question, sir, from him only. Swaminathan, yes. Banks fix the loan rate by going behind the benchmark rate. Why not for deposits? Why they don't consider inflation rate?
Madam, of course they consider it.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
Okay, so whenever the monetary policies are framed by the banks, right, the repo rates and all those things are considered. Banks
Okay.
considers, RBI considers the fixed deposit rates.
Sir, shall I?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Kindly.
Sir, my question was like, when it comes to loan rate, normally bank goes behind repo rate and the benchmark rate, which will be followed. But
Correct.
when it comes to deposit rate, SB account example, I'm just giving an example. So they'll offer around 2.5 to 3%, FD 6%. Now my question is, when inflation rate is around 6% on an average every year, let us assume. So why they don't have any benchmark rate to consider inflation rate adjusted with returns? Why they don't consider? Because returns are low here compared to inflation rate. If that is the case, it is not at all called as returns, right?
No, see here when you're going for lending rate is much under the control of your demand and supply of money in the market. Okay, it goes by your demand and supply. But when it comes to the question of FD is a commitment which you are raising at the initial stage itself. So depending upon your FD rates only, your lending rates are decided. So FD rates comes first. It is not the lending rates. Lending rates again are dependent on the market factor, as you rightly pointed out, that it is driven by the benchmark rates which has been issued by the Reserve Bank on the quarterly monetary policies. So based on that only benchmark rates are determined, and plus it is left to the particular banks. They have their own notional interest under which they will be fixing the rates. That's why you see a lot of differences between private banks and national banks interest rates and all those things on FD. But when it comes to the question of the lending rates, especially in terms of the priority sector lending, they have their own norms of lending. So some banks will prioritize on housing loans, some banks prioritize on personal loans, some banks prioritize on vehicle loans. So the prioritization depends on the banking sector. That's why they have given free hand and in fixing the lending rates. Okay, but in case of FD rates, they don't give free priority because the bank structure itself has been designed, because that is what the minimum cost what they need to bear in order to make profits.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
You are clear, right?
Okay,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Swaminathan sir is telling it is a systematic withdrawal plan. It is not systematic weekly plan. It is systematic withdrawal plan. He wants to convey the message.
Systematic withdrawal plan. What is that? I have not come across that.
Sir, I'm sure I'm here. I could unmute myself now.
Yeah, please, sir. Please, sir. What is this systematic? Can you just tell me something, sir? Because I'm
Yeah,
not...
I was. Yeah, I'm actually I read an article just a week back. Similar to SIP, there is something called as SWP, which means systematic withdrawal plan. In that case, you put some lump sum amount today, and systematically you withdraw every monthly or quarterly or annually.
I don't think it is something related to market, right? It is something related to insurance, I think so.
No. It is.
Sir, yes, sir. It is a kind of an insurance, sir, where the money received, bulk money received, sir, yearly, sir. Say, for example, 2 lakh rupees, 3 lakh rupees every year. After a certain period of 15 to 20 years and all, we are eligible to receive the money, sir, actually. It
That
is
is
a systematic
annuity, right? That is
plan.
annuity.
Yes,
like
sir.
pension,
Kind
what
of
you are
process,
receiving, you
yes,
will be receiving.
No, please.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
not talking about annuity at all. I'm not talking about insurance. In the mutual fund, in the mutual funds itself, if you put a lump sum amount, I'm a retired person today. I have got around 30 lakhs of rupees as a PF. I can put the 30 lakhs of rupees in some mutual fund or some group of mutual funds, 4 or 5 mutual funds, and I can plan to withdraw that after 3 years or 5 years
Okay.
in a systematic way every month, so that I get some money and the capital is ensured because it is been invested.
Sir, yeah. Now I got it, sir. Now I got it. Yes, sir. Sir, not only for retirement, it is there in all mutual funds. So if you are, it's nothing to do with SIPs. It's a normal mutual fund investment only. So when you are making this investment in mutual fund, they give you option whether you want that dividends, whatever is there, whether it should be distributed to you. You want to get that money credited to your account, or
Correct.
we want to compound it. That means whatever the dividend or NAV value which gets accumulated over the period, whether we want to accumulate it. So if you opt an option,
Guru Prasad sir, kindly
Okay, madam.
yeah, if you opt for an option that I want monthly, then what happens? Instead of compounding it, they start to pay you back that every month, whatever the amount accumulates in your name, right, for your funds, whatever the units you have purchased and whatever the NAV values accumulates for you over a period of time, right, that they pay you on monthly basis. Okay, that is there in all mutual fund. That is a common feature. You need to opt for it at the time of entering into mutual fund. You need to opt. They will ask 3 questions there: whether you want to withdraw the fund money as and when it the interest accumulates or dividend accumulates to you. If you
Okay.
take yes, then you can withdraw it. If you don't take yes, then it gets accumulated, compounding. It gets compounded, and one lump sum you can withdraw at the time of maturity. Yeah, that
Okay,
is there. That is there. That is there.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah.
Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Okay, sir, almost we have come to the end of the session. Sir, I think we'll wind up. Now I call upon Professor Guru Prasad, sir, to propose the formal vote of thanks, sir. Guru Prasad, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Respected delegates and from various states across India and dear my colleagues, it's my privilege to propose vote of thanks on this occasion. I am delighted to extend a sincere thanks to today's resource person, Cost and Management Accountant, Mr. N. Ravindranath Kaushik, for enriching the faculties with his knowledge by telling we all have dreams. We all have dreams. Knowledge by we all have dreams, but dreams can only be achieved if you work towards systematic investment plan, that is SIP, which help us to invest disciplined approach. Thank you once again, sir, for sharing your wonderful knowledge.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to come and have interaction with you, knowledgeable people. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I take this opportunity to thank today's chief patron and our beloved principal, Dr. B. Chandrasekhar, sir, who is a source of inspiration behind this event. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I take this opportunity to thank our HOD and convener of FDP, Professor Geeta ma'am, for her valuable hints and enthusiastic support. Ma'am, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
I thank Dr. Shubha ma'am, IQAC coordinator, for enormous cooperation. Thank you, ma'am. I thank all the delegates and faculties of different states for your participation and zeal. Thank you all. With great pleasure and acknowledge the compatible environment shared by all the members of organizing committee and technical committee. Thank you all. Thanks to all faculty members for extending support to make this FDP a grand success. Thank you, one and all. Have a fruitful day. Over to you, Lata ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Last but not the least, we have come to the end of the session. Any queries related to the session regarding feedback link, WhatsApp link, kindly post them in the WhatsApp group, which we have already done. And we have already given the feedback links also. I hope the delegates and participants, they have filled the feedback links and they have also joined in the WhatsApp group. Thank you, one and all. So we shall join for tomorrow's session at sharp 10:30. So the tomorrow's topic will be widening the financial inclusion, both the government as well as the institutional initiatives in the scheme. Thank you, one and all. Now we shall end the session. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Madam, Lata madam, can I end it?
Yes, sir. Kindly end the meeting.
Sir, just a moment, Guru Prasad, sir. I have just posted few messages in the chat box.
Okay.
Tomorrow's session at 10:30 a.m. Okay. Those who are not there in the WhatsApp, they can just go through those messages. just take 1 minute time and then end the meeting. You can end
Sure,
the-
ma'am. Sure.
I think we can end the meeting now.
Okay.
We have got few responses.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam.